the grass is really greener, warm, wet and wild. There must be something in the water.
So first thing I do is check my machine. It was checked, well the system was, but I like to do my circuit too. So turn it on and let it reboot. That takes a few minutes, so I log onto the computer, log into my med dispensary, and then I'll set up monitors and grab airway stuff. The hospital has a different setup. So here the ET tubes, silents are here, your sumps, syringes, humidifiers, esophageal temp, LMAs. You always want to see if you have multiple sizes, 3, 4, and 5. I do. I always check for afrin spray, oral airways, tongue depressors, nasal pharyngeals, lube. That's always important, and albuterol. Computer's booting. This is now up, and you just follow the directions. So you hit machine check, and all of them are different. This one happens to be automatic, so I don't have to do a lot of things manually, like in my YouTube video. And you just follow the directions. That first part of the check is done. It beeps, and you hit continue, and then it times. So you have 5 minutes to do everything else. A little tip, everybody, when you're setting up, and you know you have multiple cases, I make at least 2 setups of everything, so that when the next case comes, you can just grab it. You have to check to make sure your balloon works, and it does, and then I suck it right back out. So that 5-minute section is done. It tells you what you have to do next. Include the patient Y, which it was. Switch it from vent to bag. So it was in vent, so I'm switching it to bag. And change the APL valve between halfway. So I just opened just like a little donut, and it has this in it. I don't throw these inserts away because you can use these for positioning. If your IV is getting kinked, you need to put it behind a hand or under an arm, anything. So I leave them. I keep some more tips and tricks. I don't like to have to think too hard on the fly, so I write some things down, like their weight, ideal body weight, map, their range, and their allergies. So if anybody asks me, I can quickly look, and I have it. This is all set up, so before I draw drugs, I'll quickly go over it. I like to have this all set up and stretched out, hanging in the tree. Tape for your tube, for your eyes, and an extra one, and always have tabs on them. So, so I always fold these tabs over so that I can pull them off very easily. Another trick I like to have is for your oral airway and your tongue depressor. I like to open it and stick my tongue depressor in there. So everything is open and ready to go, but it's still covered, and you have it all in one. So at the beginning of my case, when you're putting all of your supplies over at the head of your bed, I grab this and I put it on the left side, and I grab this and I put it on the right side. The blade goes on the left side because you're always using the blade with your left hand, so there's no reason to ever put it over here. So it goes here. Oral airway, that's just on the right. It's another place to put it, and your tube usually goes on top of your patient right here. So it ends up being like a little triangle. Here, tube, oral airway, tongue depressor, called a little triangle. So yeah, what I have set up every single day, no matter if it's a Mac, Tiva, anything, you always want to be ready to convert to a general. So I have my blade. I picked this out because of my patient, height and weight, tube, height and weight, oral airway, humidifier, because when we breathe normally, we humidify through our nose, so we do that for the patient. Bite block, temp probe and stomach pump, BIS monitor, and alcohol pad. My vaporizer is full. I have a skin temp probe just in case my preceptor doesn't want me to use esophageal temp probe. My Twitch monitor, and I have 2 electrodes for it. So I like to have literally everything I possibly would need right here so that I do not have to turn around and grab supplies anywhere. So I have extra alcohol swabs, more electrodes, even though I put electrodes on in pre-op. I just have it all sitting here. I have my IV kit here, multiple gauges for the IV, alcohol swab, tourniquet, gauze, and Tegaderm, the big one, so that I can just cover the whole area. And then I put it here to the side. Sometimes if it's too cluttered, I'll put it here in the drawer. And I might not even use this. It depends on if my arms are going to be tucked for the surgery, if I feel like I'm going to have to give another medication and I need a second IV. And so now I'm going to make another IV bag. So I have a part for the IV warmer. This is the part that connects to the actual IV, because I connect that too if I'm starting one back here in the OR, so I can just hook it up right away, and then the typical regular infusion set stuff. So here I have my bag hanging, I have the tubing, I'm about to prime it, and then I also, like I said, I have the connection to the actual IV, and I just have this hanging here on my pump, and I'll let it open up and let her rip. So it's primed, and I just let it sit here. If I have two IVs running, I'll put one to the pump and then one just free for pushes, drug pushes. I'm not using the warmer, so I didn't connect anything there. Let's say I was running a MAC or a Tiva, and I wanted propofol. I'd already have that out, hanging, primed. I'd have my pump on, my patient's height and weight put in there, and the dose I wanted to start it at, and I'd push pause. So when I got in here and my patient was on the bed, I could just hook it up. If I was using syringe drugs, I would do the same, like remifentanil, sufentanil, and I would have that wide and ready to just connect to my patient. I try to set myself up to be fluid and just move from one thing to another and not have to turn around and move around, just have everything ready to go. So monitors, everybody does them differently. I like to actually put my EKG leads on in pre-op. This is the connection to it. But really what's important is that I like to separate them on these hooks so I can grab them easily. You have your EKG, your O2, and your blood pressure. That is actually the IV warmer that you usually have on this pole. And there goes my BIS monitor. And I'll bring that over here. So I put it over here on the pole closest to me, and then you also need your temp probe. So you see how everything is just everywhere? You kind of need to set it up for you. So it's actually not too bad, so I'll leave it here, and when I need to connect it, I'll connect it. Speaking of poles, what we're actually not told until you get to the OR is that these are what we use to connect the surgical drapes. So when the surgeon hands them to you right after they finish prepping and they're ready to start surgery, you clip them here and there. So there's no hard and fast way to set these up. Some facilities have them pre-drawn, some have some drugs pre-drawn like these. But what I do is I like to get the syringes out first that I need. You do it a while, you kind of realize how many of which syringe you need. So at least one big 20cc for your probe, a 3cc for your Versed, and if you have 250 mics of fentanyl, use a 5. So yeah, major key alert. Use these to draw up your propofol. Use those. It'll take forever and like your hand starts to hurt. And also don't throw it away. I'll tell you how you can save it. So you drew up your drug and you have these black tops and you just pop them on, and that's how you can make sure that they don't spill everywhere, and it's how you keep them sterile. The regular tried and true stickers, and they have like the doses on them. Yeah. So this is what it looks like. Dipper band, otherwise known as propofol. You have the date, the time, your initials. Time is very important for propofol because it expires in 6 hours. So you don't want to be giving your patient old prop. So this is how you can save these white tops. Some facilities are short on these. They don't like you wasting. So if you keep it in the bottle that you drew it up in and put the top back on, you can save it. So I'm just going to finish drawing up all these drugs, and I will be back. I thought it was important to show you guys this step. I put all my labels on first because that really reduces your chances of mixing up drugs. And so when you grab it, you already know, okay, I'm supposed to be putting lidocaine in it or whatever drug it is. Finished. I've actually gotten a lot faster at that. So I'm done. And I keep these bottles until I have put all of my charges into the computer so I can check myself by what I have drawn up and make sure I charge the patient. So, charge the patient. They can all go in the charge box. So how do you check yourself to make sure you have drawn up all of your drugs? Go in the order of your induction sequence. So I know that I dropped my narcs. These stay in my pocket. So I give my patients Versed and pre-op, some fentanyl as they're getting onto the bed. I also have your lidocaine that you give before your propofol so it doesn't burn. Then you have your relaxant. I like to use sucks just in case you can't ventilate. It wears off in like 5 minutes, so I use sucks first, and then if you want to paralyze some more for the rest of your case, you can use something else. My preceptor wanted me to use antiemetics. I give my Decadron after we intubate and Zofran upon wake up. Speaking of wake up, our neo reversal is already pre-drawn, and then I'm also going to drop some glyco. Again, I always put the sticker on before I draw it up. Doesn't matter if it's the only drug I'm drawing, because there's so many distractions in an OR. Someone can turn and ask you a question, and you could just turn around and then easily make a mistake. So always label first. So I've had preceptors ask me, like, why the heck are you drawing your reversals right now? And you always have to have a rationale for whatever you're doing. And mine is, if we run into an emergency, I can quickly just grab it and reverse my patient. These little spaces usually in the med cart, and I put them in a certain way. The drugs that I'm going to reach for as soon as I walk in go facing that way. And then the ones that I'll use maybe a little bit later go facing the other way, so that when I'm walking back into the room with my patient, I open my cart, I can just quickly grab and move it over. It's all about muscle memory and remembering where you put things. Emergency drugs, I have atropine, ephedrine, and phenylephrine. I move these two also when I grab these drugs. I grab these and I put these on my cart so that after I intubate, if my blood pressure's off, I can just... So one last sweep. I have my fluids primed. If I had any other drugs here, I'd make sure that this was on and paused. I have a pillow. I take these out